So today, we're going to dive into the life of a 15th century prince, a guy who was born to sit on a throne but chose a completely different kind of kingdom. His legacy isn't found in palaces or in stories of war, but in these simple, beautiful songs that have been echoing for over 500 years. Songs so powerful, they're actually considered scripture.
Okay, so let's just stop and think about that for a second. This isn't just some nice compliment. This is a huge statement coming from Visvanatha Chakravarti Thakura, one of the most respected scholars in the entire tradition. He's saying these simple songs, written in the local language, are on the exact same level as the Vedas, the most ancient sacred texts you can find. That is a wild, incredible claim.
So if his songs are like scripture, what do they feel like? Well, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada put it perfectly. He said it's like a thunderburst. And get this, he said you don't even need to understand the language. The spiritual energy is so potent, it just bypasses your brain and cracks open your heart like a bolt of lightning.
So that's the legacy, right? But who was the person behind it all? How does a prince give up a kingdom to become a saint whose songs literally become immortal? Well, to figure that out, we've got to go back to the very beginning.
All right, Section 1, A Prince's Spiritual Quest. Our story starts, believe it or not, in a royal palace, not some humble monastery. And this is where you start to see this incredible tension building, the duty to a kingdom versus this undeniable pull toward a spiritual life.
So just look at this timeline. He's born a prince in 1466, and right from the get-go, astrologers are saying this kid is destined for greatness, either as a king or a great preacher. But then, at just 12 years old, he has this incredibly powerful dream, a vision that just changes everything. He studies all the scriptures, but he feels like something's missing. There's no real devotion. And so, as a young man, he makes a choice. He secretly walks away from all of it, the money, the power, the future crown, and sets off on his spiritual journey.
Okay, Section 2, The Making of a Master. Now, leaving the palace, that was just the first step. His journey to the holy town of Vrindavana is where the prince was truly forged into a saint, through some seriously intense study and unwavering devotion. Now, to really get what happens next, we have to talk about a really important concept, Sampradāya. You can think of it like a spiritual family tree. It's this unbroken chain of teachers passing down knowledge directly to their students. This is what keeps the teachings pure and authentic over hundreds, even thousands of years. And Narottama was about to find his place in a very, very important one. So when he gets to Vrindavana, he doesn't just find a new place to live, he finds his teachers. He gets accepted as the one and only disciple of the great saint Lokanatha Goswami. I mean, think about that, the sole disciple. Then he goes on to study deep philosophy under Jiva Goswami, who was basically one of the greatest scholars of the era. And along the way, he forms these incredibly strong friendships with other students who would go on to become spiritual giants themselves. Now for Section 3, Unifying a Tradition. So his training is complete, but now Narottama's role is about to shift in a huge way. He's not just a student anymore. He's about to become an organizer, a leader, and a unifier at a really critical time for his entire spiritual tradition.
50 years. That's roughly how long it had been since the founder of their movement, Chaitanya Mahāprabhu, had disappeared. The tradition was growing, sure, but it was also kind of scattered, fractured. Different groups had different ideas. It was at a real risk of just fizzling out if someone didn't bring it all together.
And this is Narottama's moment. He organizes the first ever major festival at a place called Kheturi. But listen, this was way more than just a big party. It was a strategic masterstroke. He brought all these different branches of the tradition together. He helped systematize the core philosophies so it could be passed down. He organized the distribution of the essential scriptures. Honestly, this one event might have been the thing that unified and saved the entire Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition. But Narottama wasn't just a great musician or a brilliant organizer. Oh no. He was also a social and spiritual revolutionary. He taught an idea that completely blew up the rigid social rules of his time. So back then, the thinking was super rigid. Your spiritual potential, it was basically decided the day you were born by what family you were born into. If you weren't in the high caste, the priestly caste, well, too bad. But Narottama comes along and says, nope, forget all that. He taught that your family, your social status, it means absolutely nothing. The only thing that truly matters is how sincere your devotion is. Your heart, not your birth, determines your spiritual worth. And this wasn't just some nice idea he talked about, he lived it.
See, Narottama himself wasn't from the highest priestly caste, and yet his spiritual wisdom was so deep, so profound, that prominent leaders from the highest caste Brahmana families came to him and accepted him as their spiritual master. That's like turning the whole social pyramid completely upside down. It was radical. It was unheard of.
And all of this brings us right back to where we started, to his most powerful and lasting legacy. That river of devotion that he started with his songs, well, it's still flowing strong in temples and in the hearts of people all over the world today.
I mean, these aren't just old songs sitting in a dusty book somewhere. Works like Prarthana or Prema Bhakti Chandrika are alive. You can walk into countless Vaishnava temples right now, anywhere in the world, and you will hear people singing these songs like Sri Guru Charana Padama. They are a direct, living connection to the love and devotion he felt 500 years ago.
You know, one of his most incredible insights was about what to do with our most powerful, sometimes destructive emotions. He taught that you don't try to crush them or ignore them. You transform them. That intense energy of lust, for instance, you can channel it, transform it into a powerful desire to serve the divine. That fire of anger, it can become a righteous force against injustice. He gave people a practical way to turn their inner struggles into spiritual strength.
And his exit from this world? Well, it was just as mystical and poetic as his life. The traditions don't really describe it as a death. The story is that, while he was completely absorbed in chanting, he simply walked into the sacred Ganges River and merged with it. His physical body just dissolved back into the spiritual world.
And so, that's what we're left with. The story of Narottama Dāsa Ṭhākura is this incredible testament to the power of sincere devotion. It turned a prince into a saint. It turned simple folk songs into sacred mantras. So it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If that same sincerity is applied in our own lives, what could it transform for us?